Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Two teams that exceeded their preseason expectations will meet in the Big 12 Championship this Saturday as number 10 Kansas State takes on undefeated number 3 TCU. The Wildcats guys are fighting for a potential spot in a New Year's Six bowl game, while TCU is fighting to keep their college football playoff spot. This is a huge game, a top 10 showdown in a conference championship game. This is going to be a lot of fun. And if it's anything like the first meeting between the Wildcats and the Horned Frogs, we're going to be in for a thriller that comes down to the very last quarter. So welcome back again to the Gridiron Expert, guys, ready to break down everything you need to know for the Big 12 Championship between Kansas State and TCU. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country over there for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. Guys, we're beating out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers. We've been doing that each of the last 4 years, hitting over 61% against the spread, over 80% on the money line. We have spread predictions for every single conference championship game this week. We'll have picks for every single bowl game and every single NFL playoff game. If you want guaranteed winnings and money right in your pocket, thegridironexpert.com is the place for you. Go check it out. Again, the link in the description below. So let's dive into this game, guys. Earlier in the year, TCU beat Kansas State 38-28. The Horned Frogs were down 28-10, and two things happened. First off, TCU mounted an incredible comeback. Don't want to take anything away from TCU in that one. But also, Kansas State got riddled by injuries. Quarterback Adrian Martinez went down. Will Howard stepped in, and Will Howard's been killing it ever since then. But Will Howard had to step in, and a lot of defensive players went down, which many believe was the reason for Kansas State's defensive meltdown, leading to 28 unanswered points for the Horned Frogs. What's going to happen this time around on Saturday? We take a look at the offense. For Kansas State, they weren't bad with Adrian Martinez. Very dangerous runner, was improving as a passer, but they seem to be much better with Will Howard under center. The Wildcats are averaging 33.4 points per game. They're averaging 211 passing yards per game and 210 rushing yards per game. You really can't get more balance than that. Wildcats can beat you through the air, can definitely beat you on the ground. They've won each of their last 3 games by at least 17 points. They scored at least 31 points in all 3 of those games. And in those 3 games, Will Howard had 7 touchdowns to just 1 interception for 703 yards. He has over 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the year. He's playing spectacular football, and to me, is the right choice for Kansas State, not just in this game, but going forward. He's playing excellent at the quarterback right now. Deuce Vaughn, of course, is the other big-time playmaker, one of the best running backs in the entire country, has rushed for over 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns on the year. Also have a very, very good receiver in Malik Knowles, who has 679 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they have a triple threat, guys. You've got Will Howard slinging it to a guy like Malik Knowles, and they can sling it to Deuce Vaughn out of the backfield or let him carry the rock himself. I mean, he's a dangerous guy, one of the best running backs in the country again. TCU, on the other hand, guys, they have a very dangerous trio of their own, and they are just a little bit more explosive than Kansas State. That's saying something. Horned Frogs averaging 41.3 points per game, 275 through the air, and nearly 200 on the ground, 198.5 to be exact. It all starts, as we always say, with the quarterback in Max Duggan, who has thrown for over 3,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. Also has over 250 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. You've got Kendre Miller at running back, who has rushed for over 1,200 yards like Deuce Vaughn has. 16 rushing touchdowns on the year. And Quentin Johnston has been unstoppable at wide receiver, 764 yards and 5 touchdowns. This TCU offense has been unstoppable all year long. The Horned Frogs have scored 34 points, at least 34 points in 10 of the 12 games that they have played. The only exceptions were when they were held to 17 points on the road at Texas, and then they were held to 29 points, like that's a low number, in their win at Baylor. So very, very unstoppable, guys. If you want to make it better, they scored at least 29 points in 11 of the 12 games they've played. That's pretty dang good. Kansas State's defense is going to be up against a very strong test. Not one they haven't seen before, but one that's going to be very, very difficult. You look at Kansas State's defense, though, guys. They were doing a good job of stifling that TCU offense before they were riddled by injuries and before TCU really came alive in the second half. The Wildcats are giving up just 19.4 points per game. They're giving up just 214 passing yards per game. They're giving up just 143 rushing yards per game. They have forced 15 interceptions on the year. It's a pretty dang good number. Turnovers are obviously going to be key in a game like this. But you look at the numbers a little bit closer. Kansas State allowed 495 yards to TCU in the first meeting. That includes 215 on the ground. They didn't force a single turnover. So those are things they're going to have to improve on. They're going to have to force at least one turnover if they want to win this game. And they're going to have to find a way to make TCU one-dimensional. If you're allowing Max Duggan to sling it through the air, which is exactly how TCU got back into that game a couple months ago, and then you're allowing KJ Miller to run all over you, and TCU eclipses the 170 mark on the ground, Kansas State's not going to win this game. It's just not going to happen. They've got to find a way to slow them down and obviously play better defense and obviously prevent the big plays, which is something that TCU was able to do in that first meeting back in Fort Worth. You look at TCU's defense, a little bit underrated, if you ask me personally. Horned Frogs are giving up just 24.5 points per game, 239 through the air, 145 on the ground. They have 14 forced interceptions. 2 of those 14 came in the first meeting against Kansas State. 2 big ones played a pretty big role in the game. TCU didn't convert those off of points, but in a 10-point game that prevented Kansas State from getting any points out of it. They held Kansas State to 390 yards in the first meeting, held to just 232 passing yards and 158 rushing yards. Obviously, things have changed across the board. Will Howard was kind of thrust into action in that game against TCU. He's definitely more settled now, a little bit more experienced now, more comfortable now with his offense. And I take a little bit closer number here. TCU's rushing defense has been a little suspect. 262 rushing yards allowed against Baylor, 195 to Texas Tech, 155 to West Virginia, 158 to Kansas State. So we talk about balance here. You know, what TCU benefited from in that first meeting against Kansas State was the fact that Adrian Martinez was taken out, and anytime backup quarterback is thrust into action unexpectedly, they're not going to play that well. Will Howard played relatively well, over 230 yards in that game, but now he should be doing even better. They've got to find a way to limit Kansas State's balance, again, about as balanced as they come, 211 through the air, 210 on the ground, and force maybe Will Howard to win this game solely through the air by himself. The TCU secondary, like we mentioned, is underrated. People don't give them enough credit. If they can limit Deuce Vaughn, they can limit the balance that Kansas State has had for most of the year, then they should be okay. But that's obviously easier said than done. So what's going to happen in this game, guys? I mean, I love it. There have been years that we haven't had a top 10 showdown in the Big 12 championship game. Obviously, I wish that Kansas State was a little higher ranked. I'd love for this game to be a playoff play-in game. How exciting would that be? It'd be pretty awesome. But you worry about TCU. If they were to lose this game, would the committee still keep them in the top 4? Or would it open the door for someone like Ohio State, or maybe even Ohio State and Alabama, both to get in there if USC were to lose? That's a story for another time. But if TCU wins, obviously they're a lock for the college football playoff. If they lose, they're going to be sweating it a little bit on Selection Sunday. It'll be interesting to see what the committee chooses, because number 3 in the country. They're saying that if they lose, they're going to be able to drop 1. It's going to be a very tight window there if the Horned Frogs lose. The beauty of this, though, guys, is I don't think the Horned Frogs lose. I don't think they do. I'm an advocate for chaos. I want to see chaos, but I have picked against TCU quite a bit this year and have missed the mark quite a bit this year. I'm going to try to right my wrongs here. I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs to take down Kansas State in what should be a thriller. It was a 10-point game a couple months ago. I think we have a 1-possession game on Saturday. I really, really do. Kansas State's going to give TCU everything they can handle. It's going to be very, very close. And I will not be surprised in the slightest if Kansas State pulls off this upset. But TCU knows how to win the close games. They have won close game after close game after close game all year long. I think they're going to be in for another one. And the TCU magic and the TCU luck is not going to run out. They're going to win the Big 12 championship. They're going to move to 13-0. And Sonny Dykes in year 1 will lead the Horned Frogs to the college football playoff. Unbelievable season. Unbelievable run. Unbelievable and very fortunate season for TCU. But the ride is not over yet. TCU wins the Big 12 in year 1 under Sonny Dykes. They're off to the college football playoff, where we'll see if the magic can continue there. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Again, the link for that down in the description below. Go sign up, become a part of our GE Nation, and make some money with us today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.